Hello and welcome to another edition of the Steel Cage podcast. Of course, my name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as the mayor of Reseda, California. Still, I think that's still the title. Of course, I'm joined by these two maniacs to my left, right? I don't know which direction it is. The founder and proprietor of the Steel Cage, the one and only Joshua Schlag.
We might have to start calling you like the mayor of parts unknown, or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I really, it's a struggle because the Reseda connection really conflicts with my Arizona Diamondbacks fans who don't like me to have any sort of LA, Los Angeles connection. Don't mind these chairs back here. I'm not trying to flaunt these chairs from Los Angeles. Anyway, below there is the one and only Grammy attender himself, the one and only Mega Ran. Welcome back to Arizona, sir.
Hey.
I don't know.
It's great to be back.
I don't know if you there was a new Day song. I have no idea who's involved with it, but
I don't know anything about that.
It's a banger. It's a banger.
Okay. That's cool.
That's what they're saying.
All right. They're bad people. Those two are bad people. They're bad unicorns. Terrible. They're very, very bad unicorns. But welcome in. We're so glad to have you guys here. So glad to be back once again doing the show. And very glad to have watched another Royal Rumble, which I think I can't speak for everyone here, but I can speak for myself when I say this is my favorite event every year. I mean, WrestleMania is cool. All the other stuff is cool, but I just Royal Rumble is just different for me than everything else.
Yeah. Royal Rumble's got that appeal. Like, you can get your non-wrestling fans to jump in and watch one of those shows, and everybody's gonna have a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like so sad I couldn't catch it live, so I went back and made sure. Like, I pretty much avoided spoilers. I don't know how, but I was happy to be able to watch it and not know what was going on. So I watched it super late that evening, and I had a good time.
So you avoided the spoilers of Jey Uso winning? Like,
I feel like I saw that live. I think when I finally got to a TV, I think I caught that part live.
Okay.
I missed the women's rumble and what happened before it. And I had friends that were there sending me pictures from the actual event, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys, like Cody holding the belts or whatever, and I'm like,
they're like, look, here's John Cena being eliminated. You're like, come on, man.
Like, jeez. But no, I got to catch that live. That was the shock heard around the world. I mean,
right?
It's like, so funny. I mean, we can get into the who, what, where's, and whys, but on one hand, we've complained that WWE maybe hasn't created new stars, and then they clearly, firmly have put their feet down and planted a new star, and people are still not happy. So it seems like people don't know what they want. I don't know.
It's the same old song and dance of I wanted someone different, but not this guy. Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You didn't give me the guy I wanted. If you were going to give me somebody new, you gave me somebody that I don't know why you did this. It's not like he leads in merch sales or has one of the most electric entrances in the WWE or delivers some amazing heartfelt promos where you just kind of feel like everything is very organic and natural and not pre-rehearsed and just kind of a memorized line. Like Jey Uso.
Oh, wait, he's all of those things. Yeah. For real. I went back through and I looked at all the Royal Rumble winners, and like the only one to me that sticks out that this one feels kind of like was maybe like Rey Mysterio back in the early 2000s. Like it's like, he certainly deserves it, and the popularity is there. This is where I kind of just go back to my usual stance as a pro wrestling fan, where I'm cautiously optimistic. He's got it. He's got a lot going for him, and what exactly will be the story heading into Mania, I don't know. I wanted to bring this up though, because I actually, as someone who's kind of watched on and off over the past few years as I transitioned into fatherhood and tried to find a balance of that and watching pro wrestling, I kind of missed some of the things that happened, like Elimination Chamber. Like, this is the 4th year in a row now, I'm realizing, looking back at the last few years, where both Elimination Chamber matches are essentially their title number one contender matches. They're like the consolation to the Royal Rumble. So you win the Royal Rumble, you get first pick. You don't win the Royal Rumble, you might get another chance at the Elimination Chamber, and you get the other champion. So that, to me, I don't know, it makes Royal Rumble like a little bit less consequential, because it's like, yes, Jey Uso is going to get one of those title shots, but something else interesting is going to happen. If it wasn't quote unquote your guy, like Elimination Chamber is where it's going to happen, probably, right?
That's true, and they've hyped this up as the main event at WrestleMania is on the line at the Royal Rumble, but you don't necessarily hear that about the Elimination Chamber, which the same stake and probably literally the night 2 main event is going to come out of the Elimination Chamber. You know, so yeah, they don't necessarily sell it the same way.
That's why I'm not freaking out. I'm not like, oh no, Jey Uso won. Like the main event of Mania is gonna be, you know, kind of mid or whatever. Like people are saying, I'm not feeling that. You know, let's just wait and see what happens.
I just they got time. I think Jey Uso can deliver. To be honest, I mean, you know, fast forwarding to Raw, that was special. Like I disagree, but I also agree with something I think it was Dave LaGreca said or something like that. But the thing with pro wrestling is that moments, people, the storylines, the delivery of emotions like that Jey Uso brought on Monday is what's memorable at times. It's what connects us and what really makes us never want to leave watching this, right? But everybody has their thing that they enjoy watching pro wrestling for. There's some people that probably couldn't care less about how emotional Jey Uso got and the way that promo went, just the connection with so many fans and the way it felt, right? So, but like with pro wrestling, it's to each their own, right? Like, but I think without moments like this, it feels a little, you know, hollow. It feels a little, I don't know, like predictable, cookie cutter, all that kind of stuff. Like when they step out for a moment, you know, like there was a moment when Jey Uso was delivering this promo where he wasn't really talking about, you know, wrestling storyline stuff anymore. You know, he was talking about the support of the fans, essentially allowing WWE to see him as a top guy, and that was enough for him to win the Rumble, right? And like it's like for a brief moment he broke the fourth wall and was just talking to us as a person that appreciated the support when he talked about his family and him appreciating it. And like that was just such a great moment. You know, that's something that not a lot of wrestlers are capable of doing, right? And then also just snapping right back into it and being and being, you know, right back in promo mode, essentially, right? Like, so
yeah,
I don't know. I think, like, what did people want? Did they want John Cena to win the Royal Rumble? And is that why this was a disappointment in some way? Like, is that why it was a conflict? Or, you know, again, is it just that it wasn't, you know, your guy? And I'm curious about that, because I think with the Rumble we got both. We got Charlotte returning, and Charlotte felt like a slam dunk. Once whoever in our Royal Rumble pool had Charlotte, we were like, there's the winner, you got the money. And then that's what ended up happening. We all felt like that was the way it was going to go, and that's the exact way it went. If that would have happened in both Rumbles, I felt like this would have been even worse. Like I felt like the Jey Uso win made this more fun, made this more interesting, was the bigger surprise, especially when it was down to the two of them. I'm sure 99% of us were like, oh, here comes the Cena win. Like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna like give him the you know, attitude adjustment outside of the ring or something? Like, what how's this gonna, you know, finish up? And then it finished the way it did.
There's a bit of irony in all this to me, like with Charlotte winning and yet the crowd or people seemingly wanting John Cena to win. Like Charlotte's win is very reminiscent of Cena's wins when he was going through like his whole Super Cena streak, you know? Like he was one of those guys where he disappeared for a little bit and then he'd come back and he'd just win everything. And that's what's happening with Charlotte. And that's kind of why people are hating on the Charlotte thing. Yet at the same time now, we also kind of want to support John Cena in his, you know, final run. Like it's interesting. Wrestling fans, we're a fickle bunch.
It is.
I mean, Charlotte's weird, right? Like they're almost putting it into a position where Charlotte was like completely taken off guard by the way the fans acted and you know, was crushed by it or something. Yet this entire thing felt like a heel returning, like her her vignettes were basically like showing how rich she was and how much better she is than everybody. And then even in her promo, when she changed direction, it didn't feel unplanned. It felt like she wanted to do the Jey Uso thing, right? Where she took a moment to step outside of wrestling and talk about her actual life. And fans are like, boo, screw you, we don't like you. And that's like what wrestling fans do, because when they don't like someone, that's how they react. And then, again, she got around to it. I don't feel like Charlotte is the good guy here. I don't think this is a, pick your favorite of the two. It really does feel like she's the heel, so fans are acting appropriately. I'm not sure why there's any kind of like ire or like why are fans being like this, because she's the bad guy in this fake storyline thing that we're watching on TV.
Yeah. And like I've had a lot of, I've definitely seen a lot of the complaints, but one place we don't, or at least I don't hear complaints about Charlotte, is in the ring. So she's a great wrestler. And so I think she's going to have a great match with whoever she has a match with. So I don't have any complaints about that. I think they put the best person in the position to make the Mania match something special. So if it does wind up being against Tiffy, someone who's a little less experienced, Charlotte can help and carry and make that a really great match. So yeah, I think ultimately the right decision was made there. I don't know, when I saw a little bit of the promo and they were like booing her about coming back, like she's been out a whole year and they just don't care. Like, she's a heel for life. Like, Charlotte is a heel for life. Like, it's just the way it is. You are the queen. It's just what it is. So you just gotta just go full heel, like absolutely you're better than everybody else
on that pedal
and just keep your foot on the gas. That's it.
Sit there and talk about how much you miss the business and then just turn it around and be like, but I didn't miss any of you. You know what I mean? Like, turn it on them before they have a chance to turn on you. So stop trying to go out there and get some sort of weird sympathy applause and then want to turn it around, because I don't know.
Like, you're not gonna get it. Dude, but I think they all want that in some way, whether they get it directly or they want it. Yeah, everybody wants to be acknowledged for working hard, busting your ass, almost killing yourself, making it back from crazy injuries, And I don't know if I told you guys before, but when I was reading Becky Lynch's book, there's a moment with Charlotte where she's talking about, I don't know if you guys remember that main event where Charlotte, Becky, and Ronda main evented in New York. And it was huge. It was the first women's main event, and it was a triple threat. And Charlotte was kind of shoehorned into that match. And there's a moment while they were rehearsing where they said Charlotte just broke down crying. Like, she just realized it in this moment, like, oh my God, I don't even belong here. Like, they just threw me in this match. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why I'm here. I shouldn't be in this match. Like, it should be you guys. And everybody was like attempting to feel for her, at least through in Becky's book. But it was like Tyson Kidd, who was like, yo, you better snap out of it, because this match is next week. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we got to do this. So don't nobody care, basically that, where yes, we all want that acknowledgement of, I worked really hard and all of these things. But I think she's saying that her booking doesn't necessarily do her any favors, where she's constantly put in the position to win. You know what I mean? And so it puts you in that Super Cena spot where the fans will just boo you. They'll reject you, Yeah.
I want people to just thrive in the role that makes sense for them. It's like Josh said, like it's just what you're going to be. It's like what, it's just what some people are. It's what you almost want them to be. I mean, we have the Cody defeating KO, and like, I've realized that with this KO turn, right, is that I need Kevin Owens to be a heel. Like, Kevin Owens thrives as a heel. I don't really don't he's a great everyman. You don't get me wrong. Like, he's a great family dad everyman when he's a babyface, but it's so much better when he's a heel and he's allowed to be like as creative as he's being, and just all the stuff that he's been doing with this, rivalry with Cody Rhodes. And it even ended with him getting wrecked in that match to a point where it still ends with some sympathy for KO. It still ends with a spot where, like, I don't know, you were kind of wondering, what this was going to lead to in the future, but like, KO's just one of those guys, like what I was saying about Charlotte, where he's just naturally that kind of evil, angry grizzly bear, and like needs to just be allowed to be that.
I just want to shout out that Alabama slam onto the ladder. Like that's one of my favorite moves, the Alabama slam. I don't really know why. Like I just go back into like the wrestling video game days. It was
yeah, it's a fun move.
And with the ladder involved, it was just fantastic.
And the way KO sold it, like all crumpled up inside of the ladder, and
it was so good.
Yeah, I was like, was he supposed to land like what? Amazing. And then the way that they turned it, because yes, there was that a little bit of sympathy because of like he got beat up. Both those guys really did in that match. Him hobbling out to the ring to beat up on Sami Zayn all of a sudden, it's like, okay, all right, no more sympathy. Let's go. Mr. Heel's doing his heel thing.
And they're just going to go to the old reliable Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Like, hey, why not? Let's do that again. It always works.
I don't hate it. I'm in. I'll watch that again.
They've taken enough of a gap. Like Sammy's had a whole bloodline storyline.
Sammy's like, Sammy's the biggest he's been like in his time in WWE, essentially. Riding off of the bloodline storyline. So like, it's kind of perfect for them to clash again.
Oh yeah.
Well, and taking a step backwards to the Rumble, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on like overall. I thought that the women's Rumble had everything, right? And I mean, it delivered. I thought the Alexa Bliss return was amazing and perfect. And there's a shot of her coming out like from behind that I don't know why, but it's even better. I don't know why. But it's because
Bray Wyatt,
it gets the jacket, the jacket in there. That she had her tribute jacket to Bray Wyatt, but like. I felt like the Women's Royal Rumble had surprises, returns, everything you wanted to see. I know we're going to talk about it a bit later, but we have this deal between WWE and TNA, and now Jordynne Grace is not just popping up as a surprise in the Rumble, but now she's signed with the WWE, right? So
I actually wrote down in my notes preparing for this. I was like, Jordynne Grace, from the TNA partnership. And I was like, oh wait, no, she actually signed with WWE. I forgot about that.
She's official, right? She's official. So like the men's Rumble was interesting because going into it, we talked about there's like 7, 8, 9 guys that could win it, that it would be okay. Yeah. It would be understandable in the storyline. And Jey Uso was one of those, by the way. So I don't know why people are acting again surprised, but you have like Sami Zayn was one of those as well. You had just guys in the Rumble that if they had won it, the storyline would have been good and you would have been okay with it and it would have been believable. You had CM Punk, you have Seth Rollins, right? Obviously John Cena, but like they just didn't. I don't know if because of that kind of made it like too competitive, or what happened. We had a weird thing with Drew McIntyre getting eliminated without much fanfare. And then, like there was some backstage heat or something about it. But like again, it ended up like being kind of cool, but just not really having that same like chef's kiss that had everything the way that the women's Rumble did. I just felt like the result was better than the women's Rumble because it was a surprise, and that's I think what we all want out of a match like this.
Yeah. It was a fun match overall. I thought it flowed really nicely, and the end result was certainly unique. But there was something in like the last like 5 to 10 minutes of it with the way that those eliminations happened. Like those are like kind of like big time eliminations because they're eliminating all those guys that are like those big contenders. And like some of it just kind of felt weird. There was arguably maybe a botch somewhere in there. There's like, I don't really know what happened, but that kind of caused it to lose a little bit of the excitement that it built up to.
Yeah. But there was a moment, I guess, right around that time where you just look at the ring and you're like, oh my gosh, like it is stacked in here. Yeah. Like you got 7, 8 Hall of Famers. Like this is insane. It just lets you know, like, even with people who didn't necessarily appear, like there was talk about Brock Lesnar and whoever else, but like you have so many of these gigantic names all in this ring at once. And there was a moment where I was like, I just kind of realized like how stacked this roster is,
Yeah. It's incredible. And I mean, I think that was the thing is like typically through a Rumble, you can build further matches, like an Elimination Chamber match or two out of the fact that somebody eliminated somebody else or whatever. And none of it, like Drew McIntyre, obviously, the talk of with the backstage heat that kind of stands out more. But nobody's like Roman Reigns being eliminated was like the thing I remember the most, besides John Cena being eliminated, because Roman Reigns had stuff that happened, and you knew because of that it was furthering this rivalry between him and Seth Rollins and the way that everything went down. Like, that was memorable. But outside of that, yeah, like there was a bunch of guys in there, and I don't know who eliminated who, and it was all just kind of like, I don't know, it was like a wash and a mess at times. And they had Logan Paul doing entirely too much and getting entirely too many eliminations in the Royal Rumble, which they knew would infuriate people. So
crazy eliminations, taking the Kofi spot, like that's a whole other thing.
Maybe that's what ruined it. Yeah, Logan Paul ruined it. I'm just gonna hang my hat on that.
Blame it on Logan.
Yeah. He ruins
man. How about I want to shout out Penta for having a really great showing. I thought that was awesome. They had Penta play the Iron Man.
Penta was like kind of the MVP. Yeah, the MVP of the men's Rumble, I would say, just in terms of just carrying his part.
Should he have been though? Should he have been? Or should he have been eliminated very early into the match?
Oh yeah,
I don't
know.
Otherwise,
I went back.
I didn't see a replay. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a reason we didn't see that replay. I went back and I looked, and it seemed he only eliminated Ludwig Kaiser, and so part of me was like, are they going to play into this? Is there going to be something? And I was like, oh, he just limited Ludwig Kaiser. It really doesn't matter that he was in there. Like, he didn't eliminate like anyone of consequence necessarily. So just brush it under the rug,
right? And I mean, that's the one thing that's just been so impressive about this entire thing with Penta has been WWE's handling of Penta. Like, my God, there's been guys that had way more pedigree and were probably better performers in the ring than Pentagon is that WWE dropped the ball on, but not this guy. They were like, oh my God, we're going to sell 1 million of these masks. Let's get this guy out there and put him up, strap the rocket to him as much as possible. He's one of those guys you don't need to put a championship on necessarily, right? Like, people are going to be interested in his rivalries and matches for a while. And then you give him, the IC belt or something like that, and let him hold it for a little while, and to the moon, freaking moon with this guy.
He's got a strong mid-card run going right now, coming in, going against Chad Gable, Pete Dunne, Ludwig Kaiser. It seems like he's continuing that Pete Dunne rivalry. Like, cool, keep it going. Like, they're going to put on bangers of matches.
I like it.
Yeah, and then he mixed it up. He mixed it up with, our favorite Samoan werewolf in the ring, which was definitely, as I said on Twitter, I've seen at 1:00 in the morning on outside of the Nerd in Las Vegas on Fremont Street for sure. But my God, what you want to like? Penta feels like he's been backed by the WWE, right? But what Fatu is doing is incredible. Jacob is just like organically over with the crowd. He's just organically being like, I have never seen anybody. Again, the Pentagon thing is awesome, but I'm just surprised by that. I have heard Jacob Fatu cut promos like he cuts in the WWE. I just never thought he would be allowed to do so. I never thought we could hear a gangster ass fucking promo from Jacob Fatu coming out and saying,
I mean,
dropping a yada I mean on TV.
I would not expect to hear a yada I mean.
He's made it into a catchphrase. Like, we've heard it like 3 times now. He's doing the thing, and I mean, just the whole Godzilla versus King Kong. I'm both like, just that energy is incredible, and people just love this guy. And like, again, he was a guy that really showed out in the Rumble as well.
He's eating it up. Yeah, he's killing.
One other thing that I wanted to bring up before we move on for the Rumble is at least, just give Roxanne Perez her flowers from the women's match.
Yes.
I mean, she was there, set a new record for the longest duration of any woman in a single Rumble match.
Wow.
And then, of course, was the final one eliminated by Charlotte right there at the end. The only thing that I wish could have been a little different was if, Roxanne and Charlotte, actually mix it up a little bit. Instead, it was a pretty quick elimination.
Yeah.
It was what it was. It was probably meant that way for a particular reason.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, I feel like that really gave Roxanne a lot. I'd spent a little time this week watching NXT, to to be honest, I haven't watched. I think I said this the last time we recorded one of these shows. Like, I haven't watched hardly any NXT in years. Like, since they switched over to the 2.0 thing and then switched back, whatever they're doing now. I gotta say, like, overall, it kind of segues into my next topic. Like, NXT as a whole, like their women's division, I was just blown away. Like, it was just like one segment after the other, one match after the other. It's like, it almost feels like a women's show with a little bit of men's wrestling mixed in.
Yeah.
The roster there is just stacked with talent.
It is. It's top notch. I don't even get to watch really any NXT, but I usually catch highlights, and it's always women's matches. Like, it never fails. It's women's matches. So they have an incredible roster of women.
The NXT women had 5 entrants in the Royal Rumble. NXT men 0 this year.
That's crazy. Wow. But you can't. If you put Obafemi in there, he's got to throw everybody over the top rope.
I mean, that wouldn't even be fair.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wonder if they have to think about that. Like, how do you book these guys? Like, who do you have them throw out? Like, you want them to look strong, or you just keep them out? You know.
I was going to say, though, in regards to the NXT women's division, it's incredible. Like, they've just been not only creating talent and creating just like good characters, solid, women that can wrestle, but also have some storyline, something going on besides just like, a very generic character. Right. But they also have like, the inclusion of Julia and then Stephanie Vaquer, who is my favorite women's wrestler possibly ever.
I still can't believe AEW let WWE just,
snatch her away. Like, what a huge mistake. What a huge mistake. Totally. That woman is one of the best pro wrestlers I've ever seen. And she has like this tremendous badass aura about her, a quiet calmness that just allows her to look like she's just ready to snap and kill you at any time. I want to commend NXT on some of the way that they've been using the split screen commercial breaks, because they have some crazy stuff going on at times in the little box that's muted, and you're just kind of like, what is going on? I've never been so engaged, because usually it's like a rest hold during a match or whatever. Like, the wrestlers know it's a commercial break, so they're just not really wrestling that much, and there's commercials going on the side. So I fast forward through the whole thing, and I wait till we get back to the actual action. Not at NXT. They just straight up followed Stephanie Vaquer backstage and just had her. She was whooping everyone's ass, and it was just great. And I was like, I have never been this locked in, this dialed in during a commercial break. And there's no volume on it, so you have no idea what's going on.
You don't even know what's going on.
Ava coming out, like telling everybody where, like trying to break up the fight and referee. It was just, it's awesome, and it's great because it's the exact kind of chaos that you need. In a very intelligent, like, it's a well done intentional thing to keep you engaged during a commercial break. And nothing else has really done that besides the one time AEW had a pizza cutter thing, and then there was the pizza ad at the same time. While
that did happen. I thought you were going to mention when Sammy Guevara used to bring the signs out.
Those signs were good. The signs
that was
were good.
Fun.
Yeah,
that would make me watch it.
Yeah,
they would make me watch. I'm like, all right, okay, I won't fast forward.
But it's the combination thing. It's kind of why, like, going back, me and Rand were at Raw on Netflix, which was great. The debut was awesome, but like at the same time, what it lacked was all of the things that make a good wrestling show good, right? And it's a mix of everything. It's a variety show. They just tried to book it kind of like this, legends coming out and tipping their cap, and then some solid matches, and like that's not really enough to make a good wrestling show. What makes a good wrestling show is a mix of everything. That's why if you peppered in, I know it would have gotten lost in the shuffle, but maybe you kick Hulk Hogan out, maybe not make that the biggest moment of the night, and maybe you have Pentagon debut instead. Maybe you add in like one other match of like some sauce, some young talent or something like that, just to spark the night and make it a well-rounded show, right? But NXT is that because of the fact that, or their women's division is, at least, because they are bringing in these women with pedigree that have wrestled for years, that have made a name for themselves on the indies, that feel just as big as some of the women on the main roster. Like Julia and Stephanie Vaquer feel very main roster ready. Like they didn't need to come to NXT, but by bringing them there, they get the whole learning, the WWE system, while also giving these other women the shine. Like they're the rub here. Like they are actually making some of these other women look pretty outstanding, and it's just a lot of fun to watch.
For sure.
Speaking of that NXT, real quick, this just came to me as you were talking, because I remember Charlotte saying, "Oh, I may just go visit NXT and see if Julia's ready for this or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
We have not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we have not seen an NXT title defended on WrestleMania yet, have we? Or at WrestleMania, have we?
I don't believe so.
Not that I'm aware of now.
All right. So, do you think at some point something like that could happen, or do you feel like I feel like they've always run their own show that weekend anyway? But since the winner of the Rumble gets the right to go and challenge whoever, you know what I mean? Do you think they always leave the option of NXT? Do you think that someday someone will pick NXT and put on Mania?
I think it would have to be a substantial enough NXT champion. And I don't even know what that means. I don't know if that means that they put the title on somebody in NXT for, a Roman Reigns style run of like 1,000 days, something ridiculous like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's just like a big name that they bring in to NXT that wins the championship. And then that name is, enough of a household name that they feel like it would warrant, one of the two main event nights. But going back to like what Josh said, like you have the fact that you have two nights, right? Like you're always going to have that ability to kind of spread it around and like you can have some ultra mega main event for Sunday night and then put something like that as the main event on night Saturday. One. And I think and I think people I don't think people care. There are so many championships. It's just muddied the waters and I don't care anymore. And like the prestige of the belt does not bother me. It's more of the matchup and who's involved with it, who is in this match. And that's what really to me makes makes it a main event or makes me want to watch it as the biggest match of the night.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly not going to happen this year, but I could see it happening at some point in the coming years, just based on WWE continuing to expand their portfolio. So, we've got Raw and SmackDown, we've got NXT, and NXT is no longer like the bottom rung. NXT is like, just a little bit below those. Mm-hmm. Because now they've got WWE Evolve starting on Wednesday nights on Tubi, which is a thing. Apparently, I've never watched Tubi. But apparently that's
we don't need more content. We have plenty of content. I cannot keep up with the content. I don't even record Collision anymore and forget Rampage. I didn't even know that wasn't a show anymore. Because
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Oh my god! I can only watch so much wrestling in a week, guys.
This is what our favorite X accounts are for. They take the highlights, they clip them up for us, and we can catch what we need to catch.
Remember, like Josh, that's
why I go to Reddit. Yep,
it's X basically or Reddit.
I have no idea what's going on over there anymore. I know Gabe Kidd's starting shit with everybody. I love that, but besides that, I don't know what's happening.
I have no clue, dude. I don't know. There's just too much, man. And every time, like once you finally, they're cutting the fat a little bit, and then there's like, here's another show, and another one.
Yeah.
It's a lot, man.
You guys remember that wonderful, glorious, like 6-week run where Raw and SmackDown were both just 2 hours, and it felt so good to watch a 2-hour wrestling program.
Well, that's why like I don't bother with SmackDown anymore because it I don't know. One, it's a 3-hour show now. Two, it's I don't know. Friday nights are hard. Like
Friday nights are hard.
We got other things going on Friday nights, and then there's the weekend. Like you can tell me I'm gonna like carve out like a few hours to sit in front of the TV at some point over the weekend. I got other shit to do. I got little kids now, and it's just not gonna happen. I'm not gonna watch SmackDown. Too much. Sorry.
I rarely catch any show live these days at all. So when people text me like, "Oh my god, did you see that?" I'm like, "No spoilers. I can't catch it live. I'll get it later that night or the next morning or something."
Which is why, like, I really like the way that it comes together on Netflix. Like, so going back to you guys are talking about that premiere again, like the Netflix episodes of Raw since then, they've all ranged like between 2 and 2.5 hours. So like they're a little bit tighter on content.
Yeah. They cut out the commercial breaks. They cut everything out. They still leave in like when they're retelling the stories and stuff. And they also leave in the technical glitches apparently from
the glitches. The glitches stay.
That was,
but I do like that it feels very streamlined. It's like when I used to watch Raw on Hulu. It was like they just cut the fat but unfortunately they would cut matches and segments that whoever decided wasn't important. But this one just cuts the unnecessary stuff, and I like it. And it's a tight 2.5 hours, man. Like I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it too.
Agreed.
One thing I also have to say that I didn't like, but I also have a tremendous amount of respect for, was what happened to JD McDonough on Raw in his match against the what are they, the Viking Raiders now again? I don't know what their name are.
Yeah,
War Raiders. Anyway,
War Raiders.
He took one of the sickest bumps off of the table that we've ever seen. And like you were saying, Ran, I don't watch it live, so I wasn't watching it, but I saw, the video of it before I even had a chance to see the episode.
We heard the chatter. Yeah,
you hear the chatter. You know how bad it is. You're like, oh my god! Like it sounds like he almost died in this match. I gotta watch this to see what happened. I see a clip, and I assumed that this was the end of his physical activity. I assumed that after that thing that happened to him, that must have been the end of the match, and then they called it or had like paramedics come out and take him away. No, this man wrestled another 15 minutes and got dropped on his head like 6 or 7 more times.
Oh my god!
I could not believe the amount of effort. I could not believe that he just went back in there with a punctured lung and a broken rib or something like that. Like this man just went in there and did his job and just wrestled more and put on a banger of a match after that. Like, dude, stand up and applaud for
double tough, man.
Hero. Like, my God. How what? I'm supposed to hate the Judgment Day after this with the way that Dom is just adorable and everything he does, and JD McDonough is now like the toughest guy I've ever seen wrestle. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, you gotta applaud that. I would have totally understood if he's like, hey man, I gotta go. Like in this match, cart me off. Like let's
go. That X up.
Yeah. But this man continued, took more bumps. Like it was just insane.
Yeah. I was watching that because I didn't watch that live either. So I went back and watched it, and like I was on the edge of my seat just watching every single little bump he took, and I'm like, oh my god, that had to hurt so much. And like he just kind of rolled. Like there were moments where you're like, you could tell he just like rolls out of the ring because he's like, oh, I need a little break. And I don't blame him for that.
And I kept thinking that was going to be the last time we saw him. And then he crawls himself back into the corner and is all asking for the tag. And I'm like, why are you asking for the tag, you maniac?
Why do you want a tag?
Yeah. He's like, I'm part of this finish. I got to get in there. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Got to do my job.
Wild, man. Just wild. Wrestlers are a different breed. That's for sure.
They really are. They really are. And I mean, lately it's been really good. I will say, Josh, that's the one thing about this is that I don't want to criticize wrestling right now because you can watch it however you want to watch it, and I know that there's this weird tribalism between AEW and WWE fans. Watch what you want to watch, right? Like if you love the storylines and the promo work and the stuff like that, Raw's probably where to go. It's been great. It's been consistent, proper build for matches. It's just had everything that you would want. I think WWE is at the top of their game right now, and SmackDown too, right? Like I still think NXT has some work because they just have their ups and downs as far as like what star power it feels like there's there, and the CW production isn't great, but I'm not going to get into some of that stuff. The wrestling has been good, and you can watch what you want to watch. Like there is a little bit of crossover, but for the most part, if you literally just watch Raw, you're going to keep up with the storylines on Raw. There's not going to be a lot of, oh, hey, we went over to SmackDown this week and continued the story over there. Like they have that separation. It allows you to watch the shows kind of what you want to watch, as you want to watch it. And if you want to watch all of it, then you're a sicko like me.
Yeah.
So I want to, speaking of that, because we spent 40 minutes on a WWE Love Fest. So I just want to stop all that.
Fine.
And give some serious props to AEW for putting together a banger Dynamite with a banger main event.
Yeah.
Some banger segments.
Yeah.
We got, so, I mean, top to bottom, a spectacular show the last couple of weeks. They are rolling. Really, the only thing I don't enjoy is the main event storyline, but still, they are rolling. And if anybody says
you don't like Ricochet stabbing Swerve with scissors, you don't like that part?
I love that. If anybody thinks that Ricochet made the wrong decision, I'd like to tell you you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Because here he is main eventing on the other show. You know what I mean? He's instantly in there with a world champion. He's instantly a major part of a major storyline. Like, and you know, I was a little worried at first when he was doing a little goofy laugh. You know, it was weird, but that match was incredible. I mean, I knew these guys could go. We've seen it before. Lucha Underground, wherever else, you know, but that was a great match. I mean, we have some great segments. I mean, there's so many good ones actually. If anybody wants to chime in, but we were talking about Harley doing the incredible.
Yeah, I was gonna say the women for me stole that show. Like Harley Cameron with the ventriloquism. What
is she not the most talented?
Just have a hidden talent all this time.
Like she's just like the funniest women's wrestler I've ever seen. Like
she's hilarious,
and she can go. Like she can like she can wrestle. Like this is not just a funny gimmick, and that's kind of all it is. Like, but my God, it's one of those things where I think you appreciate AEW for seeing the fact that she was given an opportunity, she killed it, and then they kept kind of moving her up. You know what I mean? And like I wouldn't have thought a year ago that Harley Cameron would be in this kind of position, but she kind of deserves to be there. And now they found like that perfect weird niche for her where like the whole thing with having the finger under the puppet and like her holding it down, like there were just a lot, like you said, there was a lot of good moments on this show, a lot of funny moments. I mean, I even found it delightful that in the beginning when they had their little gang fight between the Death Riders and Jay White and the FTR boys, or the FTR rated boys, I don't know how that goes, but you saw Marina Shafir go over and gingerly pick up Renee Paquette and move her out of the way of danger, and then there's just that
cool
connection where that's Moxley's wife, so they don't want her to get hurt, like, and so it's
and
like
that was highly entertaining. The little gang fight was highly entertaining.
Great.
Like man, I was impressed. But you know what made that show so great was that crowd. I think the crowd in Atlanta was so hot.
Crowd was great.
I mean, we heard ATL ho chants. We heard so many good chants. The Hurt Syndicate's music has gotten over to where people are chanting, "We hurt people." I mean, that was an awesome crowd. I'm sure that's one of those situations where you just wish you could just like transport that crowd to the next show. Like,
well, they gotta stop. They gotta stop killing Florida.
Come with us,
Chicago. Like they got
to
start venturing to these places where
branch
people
out
want
a little more.
AEW.
And
sure. Phoenix is one of those towns. Like they're going to be here in a couple of weeks, and I know the crowd here is going to be awesome. Watch, I guarantee it. Like, I mean,
they are rolling. The weekly shows are rolling right now. I'm usually primarily a pay-per-view guy when it came to AEW.
Same.
But the weekly shows have been delivering.
Yeah.
I want to say,
go ahead.
No, just a step back. Like they have been doing some good things with the talent that they have that kind of have been lost in the shuffle for a little bit. And it's not to say like Ricochet got lost in the shuffle, but there was a very easy possibility that he could have just become the other Will Ospreay. You know what I mean? Like that kind of character, that kind of baby face, whatever. The thing that they did with him to make him interesting and to put him in that main event spot is brilliant. And it's going to take him so much further than it would have had he just been, Ricochet, the guy that comes in and does flips and stuff. Right. And like, you could say that about a couple of guys, but like Jay White is such a good baby face for them to continue to build around. Like I felt that a while ago when he kind of got the, Bang Bang Gang over, and it kind of, they were still heels, but everything that they did kind of felt fun. And like, you found yourself gravitating towards them. And like, that's the natural run, right? Like when a heel makes you like them and makes you kind of cheer for them just because of how good they are in the ring and how good their gimmick is and everything. That's when you do what AEW did with him. And I think it's great because he's killing it in this role, and he's not really changed himself in any way. He's just Jay White, but he works really well as being that, like, I guess, babyface with an edge to kind of match off with the Death Riders, who have been, I don't know, violent and whatever, but also just kind of there. Like that's the only thing about AEW right now that I feel like should be cooler than it is and should move all of us a little bit more, but doesn't really seem to, is
the thing that seems
Blackpool Combat Club 2.0.
The thing that seems lacking with AEW is that lack of a writer's room that WWE has. Like there's not like a consistent week to week overall long-term storytelling where there's like particular things that you want to follow. I mean, that said, like you turn in on any given week and it's just entertaining thing after the other. And it's pretty fun. Like, cause it's very different the way those shows come together. Like, you know, the AEW shows, it really feels like it's, you know, they're giving their talent room to breathe and come up with their characters and really just, you know, develop that over time, develop that relationship with the fans. But compared to WWE, where there's, you know, very specific story arcs kind of coming together and weaving, like it's just different. Like I don't think one is necessarily, well, I'd say WWE is probably overall better in a way. But you know, they're just both kind of different flavors of pro wrestling, really. It's what it comes down to. And that's fine.
You're not going to randomly get like the craziest like matchup first time in wrestling on a Collision like in WWE. You're not going to get like Okada meeting up for the first time against, you know what I mean, somebody that you're like, what? Why is this how is this not at like your biggest show of the year? Why is this happening on a Saturday night?
You can critique the heck out of stuff like that for sure. Don't get me wrong. But it also makes it fun. I just take it as
the reason why I can't just skip episodes of these shows because I love the wrestling and they do it kind of PWG style, which this has kind of always been. It's always been a televised PWG where like PWG never needed storylines for you to know. You didn't know what the hell was going on, but all of a sudden you were just watching one of the best matches you've ever seen right before your eyes. And that can happen at any point on AEW. They were 100%. Just a mess storyline wise when Bryan Danielson left. And I think that they are considerably better now. And I think that like that time felt like a big reset because they had a bunch of guys that just randomly changed from being faces to heels or whatever. Like they were trying to figure out where their roster was at and where guys were going to, you know, kind of land, but they figured it out and they did a great job. But their women's wrestling, again, just like NXT, has kind of just been a highlight. It feels like over the last year, Toni Storm continues to be one of the best things in women wrestling. So when you talk about like AEW dropping the ball on Stephanie Vaquer, talk about WWE dropping the ball on Toni Storm, because what an amazing, you know, talent she's become. She's a lot like Harley Cameron, where there's just so much more to her than just being a wrestler. And like, again, she's this rivalry with you know, with Mariah May, you know, off the chart. It's been awesome. And it's made stars of Mariah May. It's made stars of a few other people involved, like, you know, Mina, but it's also just cemented Toni Storm as one of the best, you know, female wrestlers that is currently on television.
Her whole bit this week, you know, coming out as Mariah May, in the role of Mariah May and wearing all of the gear and doing all of the things, like amazing.
That was just,
so well, yes, one,
I mean, not to mention
two, also
but just hilarious, on point. It was so funny. Man, like, and that's the thing, like, who knew, like you said, who knew Toni Storm had this type of range? You know what I mean? And it's like, you talk about balls dropped, like you just don't necessarily know that a person can do all this. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if she's still in WWE, she might still have her hat backwards and be walking down the, you know what I mean? So we might have never seen this side of her, you know, with the room to grow that has come from a lot of these folks moving. So I really hope stories like her, stories like Ricochet are great to think about. I hope that it becomes the norm in the next few years for people to jump back and forth, man, because it's like, hey, once you get, you know, you see something a little different, you get a little more experience under your belt, you get a little more time, a little more reign under your character. We get to see different things. So I really hope it becomes the norm where folks are moving, you know, where they're free to come back and forth over time, and we get to see more out of them. You know what I mean?
Find where you fit in and find where you're going to thrive as a performer best, right? And like that's why the WWE TNA deal is so cool, right? We had Fandango showing up on NXT, you know, and that was an awesome moment. And you know, like that forbidden door now is open for guys like Nick Nemeth to return to the WWE and Santino to come back and things like that we, you know, really never had a chance or never thought we would see necessarily, right? And it's cool because you have that based on who those guys are and the years of entertainment they brought the WWE audience. But you also have, you know, Joe Hendry, who was in the Royal Rumble and who is just an absolute superstar, right now and is their TNA champion, and just a lot of other cool things that could happen with like the Rascals and like a lot of things that TNA. I don't know if the Rascals are still with TNA. I think they are, but just like like all of that stuff. Like there's just so much cool crossover that can happen now that this deal is in place. And again, it's just about fun. It's about fun, man. This stuff is fun. Surprises are fun. The fact that wrestling gets bogged down with the same stuff, that's what killed it during a period of time when we used to do this show. Like there was a period of time where we didn't like wrestling because of the fact that it was so predictable, and it was so, you had John Cena having the 5 same opponents all the time, and you had, just periods of time where everything wasn't, it wasn't as good as it is now. Not only is the main roster stuff and everything WWE and AEW have going on like fun and exciting, but all of these, possibilities of talent crossing over now, and actually having, stars being made and being able to come over and be a WrestleMania main event, like we were talking about with the NXT stuff, is a possibility.
Yeah. Wrestling as a
time
whole,
to be a fan.
It seems to figure it out, like the way that all these different companies can coexist. Like it doesn't have to be WWE and nothing else. There is space for AEW. WWE has now fully admitted there is space for TNA. And yeah, those guys can just jump around. Like you mentioned Fandango's return. Like I lost my mind when that music hit. Like it just transported me back a decade. Dance, all that. And then I was like, leading up to that, because I was watching NXT for the first time in a while, and I was like, who the hell is this Lexus King guy? I had no idea. Didn't recognize him. He's got like, to me, he looks like Homer Simpson with
ever seen in your life.
Beard.
Yeah, it's like Homer Simpson with the makeup gun. Like it kind of is like he just like took the makeup gun at point blank range, and I don't know, some of that.
It's ridiculous.
But I was like, oh, that's Brian Pillman Jr. And, I kind of forgot about like the Varsity Blondes, and I kind of forgot about him getting signed to NXT. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's him. Okay, got it. Cool. Oh, now Fandango's here. Now they're going to clash. Cool. Whatever. Like random, but you know what? I'm in. I'm going to tune in.
You know what I love about Lexus King is like that stupid look. It just like, talk about storytelling. When you see him, you're like, I hate this guy.
Like,
you
I
don't
want to
even have
punch
to
him in
hear
the
a
face.
word out of his mouth. You're like, I
100%.
hate this guy. I hate
You're like, I want to punch him in the face. I love that Swerve posted something. I think it was a tweet maybe yesterday, but he retweeted it again, where he talked about in-ring supports story and story supports in-ring. And a lot of wrestlers are under it, like, oh man, like tell these guys again, like they don't understand. You know what I mean? You need storytelling is done in multiple ways, and story will support what happens in the ring, and what's in the ring will support the story. So you can enjoy both, and you can find what you want a little bit in both, for sure.
Yeah,
you absolutely can,
if you're looking hard enough. Like there's certainly story in a good 60-minute match should have story. You know what I mean?
Oh God, yes.
Like it should certainly have story.
And that's what I think that the WWE is getting so much better at, is building on like real life stuff, right? Like all of these rumors that we hear, oh, this guy, Seth doesn't like CM Punk and this and that. And then like, again, like the long-term story building with, again, with Seth and like Roman. And I like there's a lot of good things going on where I don't feel like they're treating the audience as dumb as they used to treat the audience at one point. Yeah. And even if you haven't been watching or don't know, here, we'll put together this wonderfully edited together video package that will catch you up. And in 2 minutes and 37 seconds, you'll be ready to go. Right. But like NXT has some cool stuff going on. I mean, like the whole, Lexus King changing the rules with the cup, the Heritage Cup. And like, I really like Tony D'Angelo and the family. And plus, I do have to say, there's like a rumor going around. There's something I did want to ask you guys about. There's this group that is debuting at Vengeance Day, which Vengeance Day is now a NXT regular show, right? Or like a kind of a PLE Valentine's Day kind of thing, but not really. Ricky Starks, one of the shadows looks like Ricky Starks. Any thoughts on that being a possibility at all?
I totally forgot.
There's some wide ears on one of the people. But I also thought, like, if you had Ricky Starks, would you even
show his
bother
silhouette?
debuting him in a group?
Would you do that? Would you put him in a group?
Unless the group
would you show his silhouette?
Yeah,
would you show his silhouette? I think he's a big grab. I don't know if you would do that.
Yeah.
And if you show a silhouette, isn't it going to be like this? Like, something like that? I don't know. That might be a little bit too much of a tell, but yeah, there's fun rumors going around, and I love that too. I love rumors. I love like wrestlers being under contract and being mistreated and like wanting to break free. I love that. That brings out the best of people when they eventually get to sign somewhere else. I love like the competition, and I'm happy that AEW is kind of back on track, because I did feel like for a while there they had kind of lost their way. But
yeah,
speaking of rumors, Megaran, Raheem Jarbo, there's a rumor going around that you might somehow be responsible for Kofi and Xavier turning on Big E. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know what misinformation you were feeding them.
What happened was, me and Jim Johnston collaborated to make it to make the New Day crumble. That was it.
You did the thing. You did the thing. No. You evil man. You worked together. You collaborated with those maniacs, and
I did the thing.
Bring together
to be fair, when it all went down, well, I can't even say that. When it all went down, maybe it was November or December when I got asked about it. So this was way before anything was resolved. But I was asked by our friend Austin Creed, do you want to know how this ends? And I was like, well, not really. Like, I'm afraid to know how this ends.
How this ends?
So he's like, well, basically, he just let me know that, they were going to go with a darker edge. Like the New Day was going to get more hard edged. And I said, all right, that's enough info for me. I'll get to work. And so then they were like, yeah, we're going to need new gear. We're going to need new this, new that. Wasn't quite aware that it was going to be the excommunication of Big E was going to be a part of that, because that is did it click that hurt my soul
night when you saw what they did? Did you feel guilty about now being a part of this?
I gotta say, I did. I was like, what did I do? Oh no. What did I do?
What have I done? No!
Yeah,
take your money back. Take your blood money back. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, what am I a part of? And so unfortunately, the deed was done. You know how things go with working in television. Stuff is so fast. It's like the hurry up and wait thing. So it's just like when I was lucky enough to be backstage and on TV, we show up at noon. We don't get on TV till 8. Most of that time is sitting around waiting. So it's like, hurry up and get here, and then sit and wait. So it was like, hurry up and get this done. Hurry up and get this done. We get it. They like it. We do 5-6 drafts. They like it. And then they're like, okay, it's in Triple H's hands. Thanks. And you don't get another email. That's it.
You're out of this now.
All right.
If we decide to cut your voice entirely, you won't know about it.
They cut you a check and you're on your way.
We don't know. It's like, yeah, that's it.
And then you find out. That's what happens.
Find out on TV when the world finds out. You literally find out when the world finds out. And so that's how it goes. 2 months later, I'm landing and I'm at an airport, and people are like, yo, that's you on the team. And I'm like, what? Wait, it happened today? And me and you even joked, big reason why we even went to the Netflix debut in LA was because I thought the theme might debut that day. Yeah. And instead I wound up in a little bit of a skirmish. I wound up in a little bit of a skirmish with Xavier that day. And but that's the main reason we were there, is like I was hoping to catch it live.
That day he gave out a very important clue when he was arguing with you, by the way, because if you go back and review the tape, I believe he says, I don't care if you made my theme. Now you did make the bow down theme, so some people might have.
See, I did the King Woods theme, so it could have been referring to that, but he could have also been. He was giving an Easter egg there.
He was giving an Easter egg.
He was in his rage of being touched in the midst of his rage. He was still dropping hints, and so we joked like, okay, so do we have to follow them around to every Raw until this happens? Like, we're going to San Francisco, or are we going to Cleveland? Are we going everywhere until we hear the song? And so I messaged the guys like, I think I sent a random email after Raw, like, oh, let me know when the song's gonna, play. And they're like, it's in Triple H's hands. We'll find out when we find out. And that was it. It
was kind of perfect.
Like, cool. But yeah, I thought that was a good time.
Like speaking of telling the story, like it was kind of telling the story on a week by week basis. They'd hit the old music and they'd come out and be like, no, turn that off, and then just kind of talk their way to the ring.
So we're not doing that anymore. We're not using that one anymore. So it was almost like Truck had made a mistake and they were like, no, you guys were supposed to use the new one tonight. Next week, don't make that same mistake. We're using the new one, and they did. And
it was a good build coming out with no music. And then it's like, now we get the change, So I thought it was a really great build. Let's hope this song lasts more than the month or two that King Woods lasted. And we'll see. Roman. Fingers crossed. And I'm happy to be a part of it. But it is complicated. I just interviewed Big E on our Spider-Man podcast.
Yeah.
And so these guys are friends. And now I'm sort of
are they friends anymore?
Friends of me.
Or did you help ruin that?
Friends of me, I would say, but I don't know. I don't know anymore. Whose side am I on? What am I doing?
The funniest thing to come out of this is the caption being wrong and everybody trying to like figure out what the song was and what the words for the song was, and then it comes up saying Jim Johnston.
That was great.
Where does that even come from? Is that like a television, like a Netflix mistake, or like whose mistake? Who dropped the ball?
Yeah, so captioning doesn't happen on site. I believe captioning is a third party.
Okay.
That is notified maybe ahead of time about what is being played, what's going to happen. But in a live show,
who does the WWE music and
maybe because at a live show, they're just like a half second late on what's being said. Like it comes up on screen late. But they had probably assumed, oh, New Day music here. And they're like, New Day music? Jim Johnston. Bam. And they just wrote that name. And that is not what played. So maybe they worked the captions boys as well.
Yeah, maybe.
You can't let info leak out any particular way. If they had told them there was a new song was going to play, they might have smartened up the internet. But also, I'm worried that probably means there was no royalty payment made out that day because it probably assumed they played the old theme. So we'll see.
Make sure his money is right.
Might not have gotten paid for that. My blood money's got to be right there. I don't know, but that's the only thing I was thinking about. And then since when have credits been or captions been credits? Like the internet has immediately now.
Oh, the reaction to that was hilarious.
Captions are correct. Like come on, we've seen stupid incorrect captions so many times. Why would you think that these are supposed to be factual?
Yeah.
But it's fun. It got Jim Johnston's name trending. I've been asked about Jim Johnston more times in the last 2 days than I have in my whole life, which is cool. And I want to believe Jim Johnston at 72 is at home banging out trap bangers, beats. Yeah. But I don't know if he is. But I heard he is still active and looking for gigs. But he is considered to be my GOAT. When it comes to theme music. I mean, he's made the songs we've all heard our whole lives, and the themes of our childhood. But as far as I know, he's not currently at the helm.
Well, and I heard
the folks who are at the helm, people have some mixed reactions about those folks at the helm.
Yeah,
and that's one thing. That's another thing I want to go back to Royal Rumble about.
Oh, the music was so bad. Finn Balor got so. Why would you give someone new music at the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, like Royal Rumble.
It's a good song.
That part. It's not the time to debut new music at the Royal Rumble.
It is Totally not.
You can't play a new theme. I think they played the new Judgment Day theme, which was like a day old, maybe, or like from that Monday. I don't know, but like no one knew it. So it's like you do the talent such a disservice where now they get no pop. The Tron doesn't say their name at the right time or whatever, so they get no reaction, and they're thinking like, "Dang, people don't even care." And it's like, no, we just don't know the music.
We didn't know it was you.
You gotta make better decisions when it comes to the I don't know. I'm a music guy.
Decisions about their music in general, because their music in general is just bad. I still to this day cannot believe that Jey Uso's theme music is as over as it is. It's just me, Us, day one ish. It's just me, Us, day one ish. It's just me, Us, day one ish. Like, it's one of, like, I laughed at that song so hard the first 3 or 4 times he came out to it, and now it's like the most over song ever, right? But there's like something to it. It's the fact that like that he kind of took over the old Uso theme to a little bit. He has that opening, that opening Uso, like there's something to it that immediately lets you know, right? And like not enough of the themes have that anymore. Now they're just all kind of like, and again, we've probably been saying this for entirely too long on this show, but like generic create a wrestler themes, like just really bad ones you don't even want to use, that eventually you're just like, screw it, I'm using the Undertaker's gong. I don't care. I'm not
there's
using
an old
song that they gave me,
Yeah, there's an old Bill Simmons article that he wrote back when I believe he was still at ESPN at the time, and he wrote this lengthy article just going into professional wrestling themes and how it's exactly that hook is critical. And some of them do it well, but a lot of them don't really, especially these days. And so
it's like when you know, I mean, we kind of know what works. Like, follow the formula. Like, give me a phrase, give me a noise, give me a thing that I can associate with that act. Then give me the drop of the beat, and then let's go. You know what I mean? Like the glass breaking and so many other things.
The static for CM Punk.
The static, like you get that immediate noise, that hook, and then from there, even if it is generic theme 45, like at least we know who it is coming out.
Look at MJF and his Fiverr song, right? Like that he got on Fiverr. It has the thing, right? But then AEW does a terrible job with some talents' music, and other talents' music they give like the shine to, right? But like, we have several friends, Teak and G1, have made music for guys in AEW, and I'm always excited to hear it. And like, it not only can you barely hear it because they don't have it like pumping through like the television, the broadcast, but the broadcasters, the commentators are just talking all over it. So you don't even have a chance to really hear the new song that he's coming out to and enjoy it and like be like, hey, I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it. And sometimes it's not that important or whatever, but again, music really is like, if you talk to anybody that's played a wrestling video game and made their own character, we will tell you how important that entrance is. I put more work into making my entrance than I do in my character. It's the way it is. It's because it's an important part of wrestling for us. The way that guys come out, the how cool things are is a big part of pro wrestling. Just like they were saying about the promo work and all of the other stuff, all the storyline, all of it's important, and everybody enjoys different things. There's always something somebody doesn't give a shit about, and there's always something that's very important to each fan, and we all like something because that's why we watch pro wrestling. But like, I feel like that the theme music is more important than either company is giving credit to right now, and they both should focus a bit more on how important that is. I mean, look at what the NXT crowd does with people's songs, right? NXT's crowd is so much like a PWG indie crowd that they literally turn the song into something else. Right?
Yeah.
You have like what they do with Obafemi's beat, where they do the huh, or you have the first women's intercontinental champion who comes out during the Rumble, and you could hear a faint crowd doing the thing that the NXT crowd does, right? Like, so there's like there is a great thing that they are building at times with their NXT crowd, and how it can like build those guys up and give some of that theme music its own character, its own life, even when it's a little generic. But I mean, it's important. you know that you're kind of in music, right? You do that like, as a side hustle.
I assume like maybe it's just, I think more about it as a musician, but I'm like, come on, like you can't boast record profits and record gains and not put some effort and money into your music. Like that's the part that makes me kind of sad about it. It's like the presentation, everything has been awesome. Like seeing the cool LED walls and the Tron stuff is always really fun. But like the music, like that's always been a part of wrestling and always will be. Like it's gotta stand out. Yeah. It's the difference between like a major star and someone who's just kind of gets laughed at, like the music can do a lot for you.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, I'm ready to go to winners of the week, boys, unless you had anything else you wanted to cover before we got out of here. Josh, you wanna go first?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I enjoyed that little music tangent there, so thank you guys for that.
No problem.
My winner of the week, gosh, I mean, I'm just gonna go with Jey Uso. Like, and all the talk you just guys had about the music and everything and laughing about it. Yeah, his music is not necessarily, the greatest, but it works.
It totally does.
Even just mentioning it, it's like looping in my head right now. And like the pictures of him like celebrating the Royal Rumble are also kind of just looping in my head. Like it was a big moment. And I wasn't ever mad about it. I was maybe a little confused at first. I'm still kind of confused, but I'm not thinking too hard about it. I'm just gonna, he is probably just gonna sit back and see where this thing takes everybody, and it's gonna be fun one way or the other. So
it's a 10-minute party before every one of his matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it is. The biggest celebrity in the building comes out with him. Like I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. Like being a part of it at the Raw debut on Netflix was incredible. But then I thought that was just a special thing for that night. You got Travis Scott smoking a blunt in the building. Meanwhile, I can't smoke a blunt in the building, but Travis Scott can smoke a blunt in the building. I'm glad I'm not the only one that was mad about that, by the way. But also, you just have this happening every week, right? Every week you have Jey Uso in a shirt that matches the town's team colors for one of their sports teams or whatever. You have Jey Uso out there in Cleveland draped in orange. You have him literally, again, starting a party anytime he comes out and just giving the live crowd that fun, that enjoyable moment in life where you're sitting there with a crowd of people doing this and just having a great time. That's what pro wrestling is about. And that's why Jey Uso is the man right now. Jey Uso is the man.
He's the man of the people.
He does 16 super kicks in his match. That's what's going to happen. Sorry, that's his style. That's the thing he does. Just like the way his song does the same thing over and over. But for some reason, just like his song, the 16 super kicks work. I love watching Jey Uso, and I just think that he has something different about him that a lot of wrestlers can't really capture, which is sincerity, right? Like where you hear him speak and you hear the things he says, and it always sounds like it's coming from his heart, and it just connects him. I love the way he talks to the crowd like he's talking to a friend. He's like, you know what, Oos? Like this is me, Oos. The vernacular that he uses when he's talking to you, like he's just speaking to a friend.
Yeah.
Kind of like going back to the bloodline, like The Rock was always the people's champion. Jey Uso wins. Like he's legit the people's champion. And you can put that title on him. Like he'll carry that for sure.
He's the people's champ. Wow.
I used to argue with that because DDP had a similar nickname in WCW, but he did the crowd thing. He came out from the crowd. He would lean into a crowd of people and do the diamond cutter thing. And it was rad. And I was like, that's actually like this working man that used to be a bouncer at a club that comes out of the audience. That's the real people's champion, not this guy wearing, the Versace shirts and all that stuff. Right. But that's what made The Rock saying it was kind of, I think, ironic at first. Like he wasn't.
It was. Yeah. It was ironic. Sure. Right, the people chose The Rock, and we're like, no, we didn't. Like, no. Right. So gosh, with that long argument, it's hard to really pick any other winner of the week. I mean, it's got to be Jey Uso, man. Like I feel like it's just him, Us. Like you can't deny, like he has been elevated. You know what I mean? Like this is another level. We've called him main event Jey Uso. And I guess they were like, it's time to make good on that. Like, we can't just call him this and never give him a main event. Like, here we go. And props to WWE for having the courage to do that, because Cena was safe, Roman was safe, Punk was safe, Drew was safe, but to take a chance and say, no, let's elevate the next guy up, is, man, a testament to just Jay's hard work. So I got to pick Jay.
I'm going to give my winner of the week to JD McDonough because
for being alive.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe it was stupid. Maybe it's dumb. Like, maybe this is where you have to like save athletes from themselves, because if you give them the opportunity in a game or in a wrestling match, they're not going to stop themselves due to injury and try to take themselves out. But I've just never seen anybody suffer the type of thing that JD McDonough suffered, then finding out what the injury was afterwards and seeing him go on to perform. And not just be there, right? Like, he could have just stood there in the corner and told Dom, don't tag me in. Like, you're gonna have to do this on your own.
Right.
Been a physical body there. No, he wrestled in a match and put on a performance and killed it. And honestly, like, when I say that, did get dumped on his back, on the area where his rib broke from, on his head a few more times, and it wasn't pretty either in those times either, especially knowing what he went through, right? So, like, I just got to give credit to a tough son of a bitch who, went out there and did the thing. That's the reason why, like, WWE and pro wrestling companies look for guys that are cut from a certain cloth, guys that aren't going to, like, have that kind of injury happen and just want to be stretchered out immediately. Like, there is a legitimate toughness that you have to have as a pro wrestler. And this is why. So credit to JD McDonough. I give him all the credit in the world. And, again, this is amazing. Time to be a pro wrestling fan. So we appreciate you guys taking a listen. We thank you guys so much for joining us. You can follow us all on Twitter. I'm at Cap_caveman with a K. Mega Ran is at Meg Ryan. Josh is at Schlag, also at the Steel Cage. But of course, I guess I botched that up. Of course, all roads do lead to at the Steel Cage. So make sure to do that. Again, we thank you guys so much for stopping by. We will see you next time. And until then, have yourselves a wonderful time watching wrestling. And remember, kids, if you're furious, you can't be focused.